Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NBGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and let's talk about mono black vampires. So one thing I want to get out of the way real quick is that I am a little under the weather, got a little bit of a sinus infection, but that's alright. Let's power through this video, talk about a really fun deck list that I have actually a lot of success with against the current meta right now in Standard. But of course, before I get into it, make sure to like it if you like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and to hit that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video on the channel goes live. Alright, so this is Mono Black Vampires. Deck list is going to be right below me on the screen here, as well as the first link in the description if you want to check it out there. But not a lot, actually, if you want to build this on Magic Online or even in paper. This is going to be a budget deck tech for us. 12 tickets, just about 12 tickets for Magic Online, and 61 bucks in paper. This is a cheap deck list. This still wins a lot of games. The point of this deck list is to be able to have a lot of incremental life gain and life loss against your opponent. The board state doesn't really matter that much on what you have on top of it. It is a tribal kind of deck list, since a lot of the life gain, life loss cards are vampires. But the main conceit, or driving factor of this deck list is more of that kind of residual kind of life loss, life gain. New cards from Ravnica Allegiance as well as Guilds of Ravnica made this deck list possible thanks to that. So let's move on to the full deck tech here. We've got 20 creatures in total. We have 4 Vicious Conquistador, 4 Dust Legion Zealot, 4 Skymarch Bloodletter, 2 Sanctum Seeker, 2 Vindictive Vampire, which is new from Ravnica Allegiance, and 4 Vampire Sovereign. This card is a powerhouse. 5 mana, 3/4 flyer. When it enters a battlefield, we gain 3 life, our opponent loses 3 life. Enough of these Sovereigns, and they just win the game by themselves. Very good card for us. It's a reverse bolt that gives us a 3/4 flyer. That's very, very good. Surprisingly effective against most of the board states and against most of the decks right now in the meta, especially control and especially aggro, especially, I would say, mono red aggro. Vicious Conquistador is here as a 1 mana 1/2 vampire soldier. Whenever it attacks, opponent loses 1 life. So if an opponent is playing a Root Snare or a Nexus of Fate style build, Vicious Conquistador can still get in the damage while also being blocked fully by either a defender, a wall, something like that. Conquistador, a great turn 1 play for us. Next up for us is Dusk Legion Zealot. This is kind of our card draw engine in the deck list, as well as a way for us to keep a vampire on the battlefield. A 2 mana 1/1. Whenever it enters a battlefield, we draw a card and lose 1 life. That's perfectly fine for us, building out our board state to go a little bit wider, and of course giving us a card. Skymarch Bloodletter is a 4 of a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Whenever it enters a battlefield, we gain 1 life, our opponent loses 1 life. Again, very incremental life gain, life loss, but still very good against the current meta. Sanctum Seeker is here for us. If we get a lot of vampires on the battlefield, we just start swinging out, regardless of what's on the other side. And opponent loses 1 life, and we gain 1 life for each vampire attacking out. That does include Sanctum Seeker himself, so very good way to continue to press our advantage against our opponent. Vindictive Vampire here is a 4 mana 2/3. This is from Ravnica Allegiance. This is a new card for us in the deck list. Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. This is a great card because it helps kind of disincentivize opponents from using like Gates Ablaze, opponents from using Cleansing Nova, or a Deafening Clarion, something that's a board wipe ability, Ritual of Soot, things like that. Vindictive Vampire really makes it to where you probably will gain 2 to 3 life, and your opponent's going to lose 2 to 3 life by just having this card in the battlefield. So if you want to play this card out before you play anything else, you might want to do that if you have a Sovereign in hand, because opponents want to handle the Vindictive Vampire as soon as it hits the battlefield, since it is a huge threat against board wipe abilities. So that's it for our creatures. Let's move on to our spells really quickly here. We've got 4 Vicious Rumors, 4 Sovereign's Bite, 2 Arterial Flow, which is like surprisingly amazing in this deck list, 2 Price of Fame, 2 Vraska's Contempt, and 3 Ill-Gotten Inheritance, a new card from Ravnica Allegiance that does gangbusters in this deck list. Vicious Rumors being a surprisingly effective card on turn 1 against most deck lists right now. A 1 mana sorcery, deals 1 damage to each opponent. Each opponent discards a card, then puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. You gain 1 life. This is very good against the Gates deck if they have their Colossus on the top of their deck. This is also good against a lot of control decks in turn 1 if they kept a really very tight hand. This is good against a opponent that basically mulliganed to 6 or 5. This card is amazing. We also gain 1 life, they lose 1 life. Just all around amazing card. Sovereign Bite is basically our reverse kind of lightning helix here. A 2-mana sorcery. Target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Very simple and straightforward at sorcery speed. Not amazing as far as being at sorcery speed, but it's still very effective and does kind of build on top of the incremental life gain, life loss we have in this deck list. Arterial Flow here is only here because this is a vampire-based deck list. 3-mana sorcery. Each opponent discards 2 cards. If you control a vampire, though, your opponent loses with 2 life and you gain 2 life. So this is one of the better kind of situations for us where we have a vampire on the battlefield. It could be, you know, the Dust Legion Zealots. Could be something we don't really care about. The Bloodletter, maybe. Pay 3 life, our opponent loses 2 cards, and we also have a 2-point life swing going both ways. So Arterial Flow is surprisingly amazing for most matchups. Price of Frame is here for those random legendaries hitting the battlefield on turn 5 that we don't like at all. 4-mana instant. This costs 2 less to cast if it targets a legendary, but if we don't target legendary, it's just a 4-mana kill spell, but Surveil for 2, which really means that we're getting into, hopefully not mana, and more cards like Sovereign Bite, maybe Ill-God Inheritance, or something like that. As far as more removal in the deck list, we have Vraska's Contempt here, a 4-mana instant. Exile target creature or planeswalker, you gain 2 life. Simple enough, it's going to get rid of the best creature on the battlefield, or a Teferi, because Teferi is basically the worst planeswalker in Standard right now, and Contempt is literally in here just to deal with that. Ill-God Inheritance is a 4-mana enchantment. At the beginning of each upkeep, or your upkeep, sorry, not each upkeep, it's your upkeep, Ill-God Inheritance deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. You can also pay 6 and sacrifice it, and it deals 4 damage to target opponent, and you gain 4 life. So, again, a very good card against a lot of different kind of deck lists and deck styles. Very good against the Root Snare and the Fog decks in the meta right now. Also an amazing card against mono red aggro if you can kind of stall your opponent a little bit with like stuff that are either just blockers, or you know, we're gaining some life with Sovereign Bite. Anytime we start gaining life against a aggro deck, they really can't kind of combat against that because they're blowing their hand trying to get our life total down, and since we're gaining life, they're really not gaining any advantage either. So Ill-God Inheritance, so good in this deck list. As far as our mana goes, we only have 23 swamp. Now you could bump this up to 24 and drop maybe a Vicious Rumors if you want to. I kind of messed around with that a little bit. I think 23 is fine for paper, maybe 24 for arena, depending on how your matches are shaking out. But I really do think that just solid swamps here is the way to go. So let's move on to our sideboard here and talk about that. Our sideboard is basically the kind of creme de la creme of what we want for control matchups against more stompy matchups, mono green stompy, or against more control or mid-range matchups. Duress is here against the control matchup, a 1-mana sorcery. Reveal their hand, you choose a non-creature, non-land card. That player discards that card. You could add Drill Bit into this slot here instead of Duress. My only issue is that Drill Bit is potentially a bad card play if you don't have a life loss, life gain ability kind of going off on the stack. So I really like Duress for that turn 1 play, just really good value for us. Cast Down is here for just removing any kind of threat that we don't like, especially against the Gates deck. The Goat cards are ridiculous right now, and so Cast Down is here for that. Plaguecrafter is also here, of course, for the Carnage Tyrant matchup, or any kind of a hexproof creature we don't like on our opponent's side of the field. A very good card all around. Ritual of Soot is here against the aggro matchup, or the Go Wide strategy. The Selesnya strategy especially, or the Orzhov Afterlife strategy especially. Ritual of Soot really does a lot of good work against those particular deck lists. And Spawn of Mayhem is in here because it's amazing for a really kind of back and forth grinding matchup, the mid-range and more maybe aggro matchup. A 4-mana 4/4 flyer with Trample, but we also have Spectacle, so we can get this off for 3 mana because of the life loss triggers we have in our deck list. At the beginning of your upkeep, Spawn of Mayhem deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you have 10 or less life, put a +1/+1 counter on Spawn of Mayhem. So the 10 or less life doesn't really matter as much to us. We're really here for that upkeep ping for 1, as well as it being a 4/4 flyer for 3. That's all around just amazing. Really love this in our sideboard. And the last 2 cards in here are Eldest Reborn, a 5-mana enchantment saga. You can, Chapter 1 is each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Chapter 2, each opponent discards a card. Chapter 3, put a creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard, that's our opponent's graveyard as well, and ours, onto the battlefield under your control. This is good against the more mid-range. This is good against the control decks. Very good card, especially against the Teferi decks. If opponent doesn't have anything on the battlefield, they're going to have to sacrifice their Teferi, and you get it back unless they deal with Eldest Reborn. And chances are they won't, except for game 2, where they may bring in maybe Ixalan's Binding or Conclave Tribunal against the Ill-God Inheritance. In that case, we might board that out and bring in Eldest Reborn to replace it. Either way, really good, solid sideboard for us. And again, coming to about 61 tickets in paper, or $61 in paper, not tickets. It's about 12 tickets on Magic Online. And for Arena, not that difficult to make either. And most of my testing was on Magic Online and on Arena. So found that this deck did a ton of work against the aggro lists, especially the mono red aggro, and against the gate list. I was very surprised about the gate list as well. This did a lot of good work with it against it as well. But that is the mono black vampires list, or mono black bloodsuckers, whatever you want to call it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. It is a definite budget deck tech, but it did a lot of work for me in testing, and I actually just could not get away from it. I was just drawn to it like over and over again, being like, I feel like this deck list is something, and I want to definitely show it to you guys. Sorry about me being a little bit sick today. Hopefully I'll be better in the next video. But thank you so much for watching the video. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to check out my personal content, that's always in the description as well. And I'm always streaming Monday and Wednesday. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.